Is it good morning or still good morning? I guess. Yeah. Just good afternoon. So good morning, good afternoon. What a fantastic auditorium this is. I think perhaps in my life, I have given talks in several auditoriums. And I must say, this would be one of the finest auditoriums that I'm here. It looks beautiful with 500 students and teachers, and I'm told that there are parents of the students who are going to get educated over here. A big round of applause to all of you. Like my preceding speaker spoke about, that this campus is built on a beautiful and divine land of Sri Raj Kapoorji, who shot many films over here. But the film that I dearly remember is Satyam Sivam Sundaram. So my talk is going to be focused on three basic issues that I'm going to touch upon. One is called design. Second is going to be inspiration. And the third and the final point that I'm going to touch upon is called purpose, the purpose of life. Now, my mentor, Christopher Benninger, he wrote his last book last year before he passed away, and it's called The Great Expectations Notes to an Architect. And in that book, he very categorically mentions that, like, before you become an architect, before you become an artist, before you become a designer, you must design one singular structure, and that structure is called me. So each one of your student, you should first design yourself. I would say you should design yourself to be a strong person. You should design yourself to be an emotionally strong person. You should imbibe values and principles. You should be grounded and you should be contextual. Remember the word contextual. It's very important to remember the context. Don't aimlessly mimic. You're not in New York, you're not in China, you're not in Dubai, and certainly not you're a Parisian. You are Indian. So the context is very important. Do not forget your roots. Strengthen your roots, strengthen your context, and in that context, be a modern person. Right? He further goes to say that, like, you must become a good person than a great architect. It is important that you're a good person who builds great communities and great society. It is not important that you parade around saying that I'm going to be a great man. Good person is very important. So let me explain, as I understand over my 30 years of running a design architecture firm in Pune, what is design? If I ask many of you, I think all of you are about 18, 19, not even cross 20. What is design? I think the first thing in our mind comes is design is pretty little things, this little gadget, that little flower vase, and all that. No, that's not design. Design thinking and design is different. It is about mundane things, day to day needs. How do you give solutions which are creative, beautiful, attractive for mundane issues in our life? That is called as design. Design is not something like, you sit and start thinking, and then you sketch something. It's not design. That's a outcome of design. So first develop what is called design thinking. How can you be creative? That's very important. And how do you do this? You must know what is history. Today, in the times that we live, no one is interested in history. I hope nowadays the schools are teaching history of art, history of architecture, history of design. But pay a great amount of emphasis on that because history is continuous. It's the history from which you learn. You take two steps backward, pick up what is good there in the history, bring it to the present, and then leap it into the future. That is how you should be drawing attention and attraction from the history and leap into the future to build the future societies. So, my dear students and parents who have not read history, have stopped reading history, go back and read history, draw your inspiration. It will be a great exercise if the students and parents learn together, because history teaches us lessons for all our future problems. Try to be a simple person, but have a high thinking. Thinking is very important. In the times that we live, we are allowing our mobiles and our gadgets to allow us thinking. Now that they are talking about artificial intelligence, would that mean that we will become morons more? God has given you a beautiful brain. Evoke it. Let it ignite. See, it's nice to do mundane jobs using artificial intelligence. But if you want to be creative, no, that's not where you kind of depend on. Use your brain. God has created human beings, and amongst all those human beings, He has created some beautiful brains, and those beautiful brains are creative brains, and all of you have those creative brains. That's why you are here. So make use of it. Where God cannot be present, He's sending you as the ambassadors, as the emissaries to make this world more beautiful. Right? So evoke your creative energies. I suggest all of you who spend hours and hours on social media, that includes me also. I'm not trying to be a preacher. I also fall into that trap. I, all of you, and all of us, starting tomorrow, we're going to sleep 8 hours, right? We all must sleep 8 hours. There are people who will say that, like, you sleep 2 hours, 4 hours. No, that doesn't help. Sleep is the most important aspect of human life. That is where, in the sleep, your new neural connections are made, your dead cells are repaired, you rest well, your brain functions well, and that's when you actually do something which is useful, purposeful for the life. So, young minds, my age parents, and all of us, shall we say that we can pledge that we are going to sleep well from tonight onwards? Can I hear a yes? A little louder? A little more louder? Good. Now I feel like a politician. So we all admire Mercedes Benz. We all admire iPhones. Why? Because they're so beautifully built. There's great creative minds. So each one of you should pledge to yourself that, like, today onwards, I'm going to design myself to be like a Mercedes or an iPhone or anything which is a beautiful object. I don't want you to be an object, but learn from what is a beautiful design. Friends, invest in good food, in happiness, good sleep, and look beautiful. Today, in the times when we are competing, we all get inspired by this haggard looking rock stars. We all have like ideas that, like, I am free. Freedom doesn't mean that you look like jungly. Yeah. Freedom doesn't mean that. You have to look beautiful. God has given you something, your own. Develop that. So look beautiful, look attractive, and then, be presentable. The next point that I'm going to talk about is about good luck. What is the greatest luck in the world? Any answers from anybody in the audience? What is the greatest luck? Any answer? I definitely need one answer. Somebody can stand up and tell me. Tell me. Great. Lovely. But I would go a little more and extend saying that the greatest luck in anybody's life is to have gurus, great teachers, friends who can be gurus, and parents who can be gurus. So, my dear friend, from today, all of us are going to search gurus in our life. It's the gurus who teach you what is good about you, what is bad about you. They're the ones who are going to take you on a path of excellence. Friends, we have heard this word called Sangat, right? Who we surround ourselves is what we become eventually, right? Search for good people who will be part of your social circle. Surround yourself with excellent friends who are well meaning. In the time when we are talking about, like, oh, I have 5,000 friends on my Facebook and a million followers. No, that's not the way you look at friends. Those are not your friends. That's your own image of like some fake identity that you have created for yourself. Your friends are those who will stand by you in the time of need. Your friends are those who will come to you at 2 a.m. when you are in a crisis and you need to be rushed off to the hospital. Search for those friends, lifelong friends. All of us, we need, like, good friends. And make sure in your friends you have a doctor, you have a lawyer, and definitely an accountant, right, to teach you how to save money. One more point when it comes to inspiration. We all live in the times when we all think about, like, I want to be a tourist. One thing that I have learned in my travels, not as a tourist, but in my travels, I talk about the word travels. Travel within yourself, travel within your life, travel to places unknown. Take a bag, just get out of the place, go traveling in buses, in trains, in flights, on walks. It is these travels that introduces you to what is called real life, real India, rural India, real people. And those chance meetings are wonderful. They create stories in your life that you can narrate even to your grandchildren. So, traveling is very important. You come across instances that will connect you. Traveling allows you to understand who we are. That is what the purpose of traveling. We talk about inspiration. Inspiration can come from anywhere. I get inspired by a tea shop, a vendor who's selling tea at the corner of my house or my street. Inspiration can come from such common people. I get inspired by looking at, like, traffic controlling cops or police people. I get inspired by people who are sweeping our roads to make them look beautiful. I get inspired by teachers, my parents, my older brother who's 60. He runs every day 10 kilometers. I get inspired by him. I get inspired by my 78-year-old mother who, even today, she cooks, cleans, and then she runs a very large garden on the terrace. You can get inspired by anything. To me, I get inspired by meeting wise people, search wise people. I get inspired by reading. Reading opens you to a whole new world that you can't even sit and imagine sitting over here. I can read a book and imagine myself what would be the life in Peru or Paraguay or Uruguay, right? Read books. Reading allows you to make you a leader. Those who read, they lead the people who don't read. Remember this. Out of a class of 100, only that person who reads becomes a leader. So you should start reading and read everything, not just your class textbooks, anything. Okay? So I was saying that, like, I read a lot. I read one book in a week. That's about 300 pages is what I read every day, at least a couple of hours in the morning. I do read. And then I think about my office work. So reading is very important. So we should get inspired by politicians, film stars, filmmakers, sports people. Yeah, why not? But also, we can draw inspiration from common people, right? The question that I want all of you to ask as you leave this auditorium is, what is that I am inspired by? Okay. What's the question? What is that I am inspired by? Ask yourself and fuel it. The last point that I want to talk about is purpose. Many of us, even adults, people of my age, we have no idea what is the purpose of our life. See, purpose of life can be anything. So you should always think about, like, the purpose of life cannot be building a house, having a car, and going to America. No, that's not the purpose. Purposes are greater. Keep your goals, but your goals should be simple. They should be incrementally increase as we age in our life. I'm going to tell one story. I believe in telling stories. If you allow me, I can tell little story. Yeah? Do you all know who is Valmiki? Yes? Yeah? So what did he write? Louder? Yes. We know Valmiki because of Valmiki Ramayana. Okay. Now, who was Valmiki? Essentially, essentially, Valmiki was a highway robber. He was in the forest. He was robbing all the people who were traveling through the forest. Right? Have you all heard this version of Valmiki? Yes. Now, one day he goes with so much of jewelry and so much of valuables to his wife, and he says, Priyatama, I have brought for you this wonderful necklaces and jewelry and rich things for you because I love you so much. Right? She said, Oh, wow, it's so nice. No, that's a wrong thing. She said, I'm ashamed of you. She said, like, I am so ashamed of you that you are my husband. And from the crime that you commit, you're feeding your children and me, and you call this as looking after. Do not be under the mistake or under the spell that, like, I am part of your crime. She says this to Valmiki. And Valmiki was astonished. And he says, My dear beloved, why do I do all these things? To feed you, to look after my family. She says, I am not part of your crime. I wish there were more wives and more wives like the wife of Valmiki today in the times that when we live in so much corruption, so much crime. Crime must stop in the house. If all the men who take bribes come to their houses and if their wives say that, like, I'm not going to wear this corrupt money which has brought me these necklaces. I'm not going to drive in a car that you have bought from bribes. Where will the bribes and corruption be? Zero. Understand, corruption and bribes only serves the top 10% of the people, not the 90% of the people. 90% of the people are denied their fair chance because of this. So don't encourage crime, don't encourage corruption. It's very important. Corruption should stop at the house. If any one of you have husbands or wives who are involved in such kind of crime or corruption, stop it. Be the wife of Valmiki. Later on, Valmiki, after realizing this, that he is not keeping his wife happy, he goes to the forest, meditates, seeks knowledge, and after seeking the knowledge, then he writes Ramayan. So that's why it's called Valmiki Ramayan, right? And imagine, do we today remember after thousands and thousands of years Valmiki for robbery? No, we remember him for Ramayana. We remember and worship him for giving us one of the greatest epics of the history of mankind, Ramayana, which basically kind of teaches us through stories so many life instances. Okay, so that's one of the stories that I wanted to tell. Next thing is that remember, young men and women, that our talents are loaned to us. Our talents are loaned to us to create our societies to be better societies. So imagine, if you have a talent of singing, you should sing and make the people happy. If you have a talent of healing, you should treat diseases. If your talent is to be a good designer, you should improve the gadget. So remember, all our talents like writing, singing, all these things are learned to us. We are just a conduit, we are a custodian of these things to make the world better. Okay. Now, the last things which I want to tell you about is that we live in a country called India. India is a great country. As you all know, India is the oldest civilization, but at the same time, it is the youngest nation. We're just 74 years old. And all of you are in part participating in the growth of India. What is the average age of India today? 1.5 billion people, 27, 28. Imagine, that's a very young nation. We, the previous generation, all of you are Gen Z, is it? Gen Z, right? I've heard about all the things about Gen Z, but I don't believe that. Like, I know for sure you're going to make my country beautiful. I know for sure that I can expect from you to make my country richer. When I say rich, I'm not talking about just the money part, rich in every aspect. Take my country to the next level, my dear Gen Zs. We are waiting for you to evolve. Okay? Now, when you become richer, I'm told by the latest Niti Aayog Planning Commission report that almost 40% of India has risen out of poverty, right? Which is such a good news. You must do the rest and make it a rich country. And when we do become rich country, let's help other poor countries. Let's help Africa. My firm has very categorically decided that 30% of our work we will do in Africa. We have already got 2 or 3 projects in Congo, Tanzania, and Ethiopia. The idea of CCBA going to Africa is not to make money, but to teach them how in India we have learned to make buildings in $20 to $30 per square foot. That's very cheap. We all look for, architects and their works which are done in New York, Paris, Shanghai, Tokyo, Dubai, and Singapore, whose budgets are 10 times much more than what we have. Those are not the ones that you should be looking at. You should be looking at architects who are building in India. In that scarcity comes what is called beauty. If we can teach the world, this is what we should be teaching it, how in such less money we can still be modern, we can still be building functional buildings. So learn to follow Indian architects, Indian designers who are making things not just for the rich societies but for people who are common people. And when you do study architecture, when you graduate to become an architect as an artist or as a designer, your responsibility is not just to attend to the top 10% of the society, but also to help the 90% of the society which is untouched by architects. I expect you to design for rural areas. I expect you to build not 25,000 square foot huge palatial bungalows and penthouses and luxury homes. I expect you to build beautifully 300 square foot houses for migrant laborers. I expect you to look into peri-urban and rural environments to create them as beautiful spaces to live. It is your responsibility. You will become a professional, and professionals have a responsibility to look at the larger issues of the society and not just think about fees and money. Yes, they are byproducts, they will give you good life, but your larger purpose of this profession is to transform the society. My last story is going to be about polio. How many of you know what is polio? Do you know what is polio? This generation probably would not know. Polio used to be one of the deadly diseases in the world. Jonas Salk invented a vaccine called the polio vaccine. And in respect of that, the Salk Institute in California was built. Who was the architect who built Salk Institute? Louis Kahn. Now, Louis Kahn is known to have built and designed IIM Ahmedabad and the Parliament House of the newly formed country Bangladesh. Now, in architecture, the field that I come from, Louis Kahn is considered as a god. We all draw our inspiration. We all belong to the gharana of Louis Kahn, if we have to say. So Louis Kahn built these beautiful buildings for a doctor who invented polio vaccine. Polio is a disease where children used to lose their limbs. Essentially, it has been completely eradicated. Now, when Jonas Salk invented this vaccine, he didn't make money out of it. He gave it free to the world. Think about it. He gave it free. And because of his invention and he freely distributing polio vaccine, today we do not see any more polio at all. In the same way, Louis Kahn, when he designed, many times he did not get money. It doesn't mean that Jonas Salk and Louis Kahn lived in poverty. They lived very well, but they understood their purpose of life was not just to make money, but to find the greater purpose, which is in serving humanity. My dear friends, you are in MIT, you are studying architecture, art, design, performing arts. Architecture is the mother of all arts. Let me remind you, architecture creates civilizations. Architecture creates communities. Without buildings, there will be no art, there will be no performing arts, there will be no you and me or anybody else. So it's very important to understand the power of architecture. Welcome to MIT ADT. I expect you to study nicely the subject of architecture and find the purpose of your life through architecture as the medium. Thank you very much.